Good morning, everybody. My wife and I had breakfast at McDonald's this morning, and of course the place was just packed with senior citizens, which made me smile because my pap was a member of the Mickey D's mafia after he retired from the railroad. Although I believe there was a schism at some point that led to Pap and several members of the group moving their morning coffee clash over to Roy Rogers. But anyway, we were there at McDonald's eating, surrounded by all the seniors, drinking their coffee and shooting the shit. And I realized just, how attached so many older folks are to their meetings at McDonald's, their morning McDonald's coffee. And I thought, man, what would happen to these people if McDonald's announced that they were just going to stop serving breakfast from now on? Like, they announced one day that all their locations are going to open at lunch from now on. And I thought, man, I bet a lot of these old folks would just kill themselves. Like, I'd wake up one morning and I'd hear gunshots going off like fireworks as senior citizens from all over Washington County unrolled their copy of the Herald Mail and read the news, which would of course be above the fold with a large color photograph. But then I thought, now suicide would be too drastic. Most of them would probably just call in and bitch about it in mail call. Oh, but where are we all supposed to go? Something like that. I don't know. Anyway, speaking of mail call, the following comments are taken from editions of Mail Call printed in the Herald Mail from December 27, 2011 to January 6, 2012, spanning the gap, which can be viewed online in their entirety at www.herald-mail.com. First up from Boonesboro. A reduced federal budget would be easy to achieve. Find the right percentage amount and cut everyone that amount. The Republicans, however, are pursuing the route of using their hit list. Do you like clean air and water? They don't. Do you think certain business elements require oversight? They don't. Their financing overlords are playing the tune they dance to. The party of Richard Nixon lives. I think you're being a little unfair. For one thing, reducing the federal budget is a bit more complicated than just hacking a certain percentage out of every department. For another, Republicans in Congress don't hate clean air and water. They like it. In fact, they have it in and around their own beautiful homes. See, the reason they don't support environmental regulation is that to them there isn't a problem. If you want clean air and water, fine. Go buy your own house in the country next to a beautiful, crystal clear private lake. They're for sale. I see where the police are vowing a holiday crackdown on drunk and drugged drivers. Well, come on, guys and girls, let's get out there and do that 7 days a week, 52 weeks a year. And while you're out there doing that, crack down on these aggressive drivers and speeding drivers, too. Hagerstown. Fuck you, buddy. Like not speeding and driving aggressively makes you some kind of a saint. I've got to pick my wife up from work tonight, and it's a 30-minute drive. Maybe you have the patience to just sit there staring at the road for half an hour, but I've got to entertain myself, and sometimes the radio and masturbating just don't get it done. I just saw on TV where a poll said that 69% of Americans say they feel that this country could not be in any worse shape, yet 51% said they would vote for President Obama again. What are you people thinking about? You can see what he's done to this country in 3 years. What do you think he's going to do with 4 more elected years? This country is lower than I've ever seen it, and it just keeps getting worse and worse. We need to get some good Bible-believing Americans in there that want to get this country back on course. Sharpsburg. The country's lower than you've ever seen it? Could not be in worse shape? What are you, 3 days old? Look, I'm not about to get up and dance the jitterbug over how great things are, or for any other reason, but they could be a lot worse, and I can say this because just very recently, they were a lot worse. I mean, where we're at now certainly isn't ideal, but, the economy's starting to pick up a little bit, the unemployed are gradually finding jobs and returning to work, and we're only fighting one war now. Yay! As for your last bit, with a very few exceptions, every single person who is in there at the federal, state, and local level is a Bible-believing American already. Bible-believing Americans run the show around here, and always have. So if things really are worse now than they've ever been, whose fault is that? I was surfing the web and saw the video of the Tim Tebow Jesus skit from Saturday Night Live. I found it very distasteful and disrespectful. I think personally it was a slap in the face to all Christians. It may be even more disturbing to hear people laughing in the background. I wonder, come Judgment Day, if they will still be laughing. Halfway area. Gee, I wonder why some people don't like Christians. Maybe it's because so many of them respond to gentle mockery with these kind of ominous, empty threats. Ooh, you guys just wait till Jesus gets home. But then again, what else should I expect, really, when it's Jesus himself who sets the prickly, thin-skinned example which they all follow? Think what he says to the disciples in the Gospel of Mark. And whosoever shall not receive you nor hear you when ye depart thence, shake off the dust under your feet for a testimony against them. Verily I say unto you, it shall be more tolerable for Sodom and Gomorrah in the day of judgment than for that city. Stay tuned for more on what an asshole Jesus is in a minute. This is a warning to all political candidates. If you call me or do a robocall to my phone, you have lost my vote. Hagerstown. There you go, political candidates. You've been warned. Do not call this anonymous person, whoever they are. You should ask your readers how many believe in the daily horoscope. What a waste of space. Paramount. I agree it's a waste of space, but if they ever put that question to the readers, I think you should prepare yourself for a disappointing result. Something tells me the uproar over pulling the horoscope would be almost as bad as the stink people raised when the paper announced they were cutting the comics back to one page. Most times when I read a religious comment in mail call, it always has some ridicule behind it, lots of judgment and a mean feel to it. If you call yourself a Christian, then try to start modeling yourself after our Creator. Let your words be gentle and kind, and be humble. Christians are supposed to distinguish themselves by being an imitation of Christ, who was by no means malicious in anything he did or said. Clear Spring. No, Jesus was never malicious in anything he said or did. I mean, except for that quote that I just read a minute ago where he says that cities who don't receive his disciples will be punished during Judgment Day, which hasn't happened yet. Talk about holding a grudge. And when he agrees with God that people who fail to honor their parents deserve to die, and when he says that all those who don't believe in him will burn with the devil in everlasting fire. But at least he's humble, right? I mean, except for when he tells his disciples that they have to love him more than their own families in order to be worthy of him. And when he promises to reward anyone who forsakes their home and friends and family for him, and when he makes grandiose false promises to do anything his followers ask him to do. Yep, other than those exceptions, and the many others that I didn't mention, Jesus was a gentle, kind, humble guy. I lived in Maryland for 60 years and moved down to Falling Waters, and my concern was every time you buy a Mega Millions ticket in Maryland, it has to benefit the Stadium Authority down in Baltimore, Maryland. I was born and raised up in Western Maryland, Falling Waters, West Virginia. What is your objection exactly? Do you think only organizations local to where you live deserve to benefit from lottery funding? Don't buy the ticket if it bothers you that much. And finally, from Falling Waters, I would like to make a comment about the candlelight vigil at Rose Hill. It was beautiful. The staff did a wonderful job, but I wanted to make a comment about how rude people are. During the bagpipes playing Amazing Grace, people were laughing and carrying on like they were at a party. I thought it was disgraceful. Such a beautiful song and a beautiful instrument that somebody could stand there and laugh. I thought it was very disgraceful. But it was a beautiful evening and the staff did a wonderful job. You think laughing during Amazing Grace is bad? I once had the singular experience of standing in the Hall of Remembrance at the Holocaust Museum in Washington, D.C. There's a silence please sign right before you walk in. It's like the soberest spot in D.C. Hearing a clueless voice loudly exclaim, "Wow, what's this place?" and turning around to see one of my buddies who I'd come with entering the hall with all the grave sobriety of a guy arriving at the third leg of his birthday pub crawl. Now, luckily, it wasn't too busy that day. I think we only rudely disrupted the deeply personal contemplation of one of the darkest chapters in the history of our civilization for maybe 4 people. So, there's that, at least. Thanks for watching.